cloud. All right, we're on. Shalom, I'm Brother Doug. I'm uh I'm from the Awakened by Yahuwah Fellowship Group in Yahuwah Almighty Yahushua Messiah. I'm one of the you could say one of the leaders of this fellowship. So today I am going to be continuing our weekly Torah readings. This is the last day of the week, mind you guys. So this is the last day that I do these Torah readings for this week. Preparation day I usually reserve to actually get stuff done. So, and to get stuff ready for the Sabbath. So you're probably not going to see me on Facebook Live tomorrow at all, unless we do a meeting for Sabbath evening. So just wanted to let you guys know that. All right, here we go. Let's get started here. So like I usually do with the word software, I'm going to have the Septuagint on the left, the Targum on Kalos on the right. Okay. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Yashar Al, and say to them, whatsoever a woman shall have conceived and born a male child shall be unclean 7 days. She shall be unclean according to the days of the separation for her monthly courses. Okay. Talking about her, her period where she has, you know, you know, So anyway, let's see here. So this is talking about a woman being unclean for 7 days when she has her period for all the monthly courses. Okay. And on the 8th day, she shall circumcise. Oh, it talks about basically when a woman has conceived and born a male child. Okay. She's unclean for 7 days. Okay. All right. So, and on the 8th day, she shall circumcise the flesh of his foreskin. And for 33 days she shall continue in her unclean blood. She shall touch nothing set apart, and shall not enter the set apart place until the days of her purification be fulfilled. Okay. But if she should have borne a female child, then she shall be unclean twice 7 days, according to the time of her monthly courses. And for 66 days she shall remain in her unclean blood. And when the days of her purification shall have been fulfilled for a son or a daughter, she shall bring a lamb of a year old without blemish for a whole burnt offering. Notice how the lamb here is a whole burnt offering and not a sin offering, which is interesting. So this might actually come back in the Levitical priesthood. And then you have a young pigeon or a turtle dove for a sin offering. To the tabernacle, to the door of the tabernacle, witness to the priest, and he shall present it before Yahuwah, and the priest shall make atonement for her, and shall purge her from the fountain of her blood. This is the law of her who bears a male or a female. Okay. All right. And if she cannot afford a lamb, then she shall take 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, one for a whole burnt offering, one for a sin offering, and the priest shall make atonement for her, and she shall be purified. So that's pretty much self-explanatory. I think since that was such a short chapter, we're gonna probably go to chapter 14, I would think. Oh no, chapter 13 also. Okay, let me just see. I think this is the skin disease, if I'm not mistaken. This is, yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll try this here. We're going to see here how this works, if we have enough time for this here. So, and Yahuwah spoke to Moshe and Aaron, saying, if any man should have in the skin of his flesh a bright, clear spot, or there should be in the skin of his flesh a plague of leprosy, he shall be brought to Aaron the priest, or to one of his sons, the priests, and the priest shall view the spot in the skin of his flesh, and the hair in the spot be changed white, and the appearance of the spot be below the skin of the flesh. It is a plague of leprosy. Okay. All right. And the priest shall look upon it and pronounce him unclean. But if the spot be clear and white in the skin of his flesh, yet the appearance of it not deep below the skin, its hair have not changed white hair, but it is dark, then the priest shall separate him that has the spot 7 days. And the priest shall look on the spot the 7th day, and behold, the spot remains before him. The spot has not spread in the skin, then the priest shall separate him a second time 7 days. Okay. All right. So it seems like he's actually, so according to the leprosy, we got he shall be separated 7 days the first time, then he checks after the first 7 days, then the spot has not spread, then he's going to separate him for another 7 days. Okay, we also just read Leviticus 12, which was a brief chapter about basically how long women are unclean after bearing a male child versus a female child, the sacrifices for what to do for that period of uncleanness for the woman, 33 days for a male child, 63 days for a female child. The sacrifice would entail the dove or a turtle dove or a young pigeon for the sin offering, and for the whole burnt offering is a lamb for either the daughter or the son, which is born from that. And that chapter also entailed circumcising the male child on the 8th day. So that was chapter 12 for those that missed it. Now we're at Leviticus 13. And so this is about the law of leprosy and what happens if a man has a skin disease or anyone has a skin disease. Okay. So let's see here. I think we were up to verse 5 here. The priest shall look on the spot the 7th day, and behold, the spot remains before him. The spot has not spread in the skin, then the priest shall separate him the second time 7 days. And the priest shall look upon him the second time in the 7th, and behold, the spot be dark, and the spot have not spread in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him clean, for it is a mark, and a man shall wash his garments and be clean. But if the bright spot should have changed and spread in the skin after the priest has seen him for the purpose of purifying him, then shall he appear the second time to the priest. Okay, and the priest shall look upon him, and behold, the mark have spread in the skin. Then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a leprosy. And if a man has a plague of leprosy, then he shall come to the priest, and the priest shall look, and behold, if it is white spot in the skin, and it has changed the hair to white, and some of this sound part of the quick flesh in the sore, it is leprosy waxing old in the skin of the flesh. So basically it's talking about if it goes deeper than the skin and it starts changing the hair on the man's skin, then it's spreading, then it's a leprosy. The priest shall pronounce him unclean and shall separate him because he is unclean. And if the leprosy should have come out very evidently in the skin, and the leprosy should cover all the skin of the patient from the head to the feet, wow, wheresoever the priest shall look, then the priest shall look, and behold, the leprosy has covered all the skin of the flesh, and the priest shall pronounce him clean of the plague, because it has changed all to white, it is clean. Now that's interesting. But whatsoever day the quick flesh shall appear on him, he shall be pronounced unclean. And the priest shall look upon the sound flesh, and the sound flesh shall prove him to be unclean, for it is unclean, it is a leprosy. But if the sound flesh be restored and changed to white, then he shall come to the priest. And the priest shall see him, behold, the plague is turned white. Then the priest shall pronounce the patient clean. He is clean. And if the flesh should be in place of the ulcer a white sore, or looking white and bright or fiery, and it shall be seen by the priest. The priest shall look, and behold, if the appearance be beneath the skin, and his hair has changed to white, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean, because it is a leprosy. It has broken out in the ulcer. But if the priest look, and behold, there is no white hair on it, and it be not below the skin of the flesh, and it be dark colored, then the priest shall separate him 7 days. But if it manifestly spread over the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a plague of leprosy. It has broken out in the ulcer. But if the bright spot should remain in its place and not spread, it is the scar of the ulcer, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. And if the flesh be in his skin in a state of fiery inflammation, and there should be in his skin the part which is made whole of inflammation, bright, clear, and white, and suffused with red or very white, then the priest shall look upon him, and behold, the hair being white is changed to a bright color, and its appearance is lower than the skin. It is a leprosy. It has broken out in the inflammation, and the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a plague of leprosy. So let's see. Okay, if you want broken out inflammation, but if the priest should look, and behold, there is not in the bright spot any white hair, and it should not be lower than the skin, it should be dark, then the priest shall separate him 7 days, and the priest shall look upon him on the 7th day. And if the spot be much spread in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. Okay, it is a plague of leprosy. It is broken out in the ulcer. But if the bright spot remain stationary and be not spread in the skin, but should be dark, it is a scar of inflammation, and the priest shall pronounce him clean, for it is the mark of inflammation. And if a man or a woman have in them of plague of leprosy in the head or the beard, so this is interesting. Okay. And the priest shall look on the plague, and behold, the appearance of it beneath the skin, and in it there be thin yellowish hair, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a scurf. It is a leprosy of the head, or a leprosy of the beard. And if the priest should see the plague of the scurf, and behold, the appearance of it be beneath the skin, and there is no yellowish hair in it, then the priest shall set apart the plague of the scurf 7 days. And the priest shall look at the plague on the 7th day, and behold, the scurf be not spread, and there be no yellowish hair on it. The appearance of the scurf is not hollow under the skin. Then the skin shall be shaven, but the scurf shall not be shaven, and the priest shall set aside a person having the scurf 2nd time for 7 days. And the priest shall see the scurf on the 7th day, and behold, the scurf is not spread in the skin after the man's being shaved, and the appearance of the scurf is not hollowed beneath the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him clean, and he shall wash his garments and be clean. But a scurf be indeed spread into the skin after he has been purified, then the priest shall look, and behold, the scurf be spread in the skin. The priest shall not examine concerning yellow hair, for he is unclean. But if the scurf remains before him in its place, a dark hair should have arisen in it, and the scurf is healed, he is clean, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. And if a man or a woman should have in the skin of their flesh spots of a bright whiteness, then the priest shall look, and behold, there bright spots of a bright whiteness in the skin of their flesh. It is a tetter, it bursts forth in the skin of his flesh, he is clean. And if one's head should lose the hair, he is bald, he is clean. If his head should lose hair in front, his forehead is bald, he is clean. There should be in his baldness of head or his baldness of forehead a white or fiery plague. It is leprosy in his baldness of his head or baldness of forehead. And the priest shall look upon him. Behold, if the appearance of the plague be white or inflamed in his baldness of head or baldness in front, as the appearance of leprosy in the skin of his flesh, he is a leprous man. The priest shall surely pronounce him unclean. His plague is in his head. And the leper in whom the plague is, let his garments be ungirt and his head uncovered, and let him have a covering put upon his mouth. And he shall be called unclean. And the leper in whom the plague is, let his garments be ungirt and his head uncovered, and let him have a covering put upon his mouth, and he shall be called unclean. All the days in which the plague shall be upon him, being unclean, he shall be unclean. He shall dwell apart. His place of sojourn shall be without the camp. And if a garment has in it the plague of leprosy, a garment of wool or a garment of flax, either in the warp or in woof, or in the linen or in the woolen threads, or in a skin or in a workmanship of skin, and the plague be greenish or reddish. So this is talking about almost like sounds like a gangrene type of color, or mildew type of colors, kind of what I think about when I look at this verse here, reddish or greenish, or in the garment, either in the warp, or in the woof, or in a utensil of skin. It is a plague of leprosy. He shall show it to the priest, and the priest shall look upon the plague, and the priest shall set apart the plague 7 days. And the priest shall look upon the plague on the 7th day. And if the plague be spread in the garment, either in the warp, or in the woof, or in the skin, or in whatsoever things skins may be used in their workmanship, the plague is a confirmed leprosy. It is unclean. He shall burn the garment, either the warp or woof, in the woolen garments, or in flaxen, or in any utensil of skin in which there may be the plague, because it is a confirmed leprosy. It shall be burnt with fire. And if the priest should see, and the plague be not spread in the garments, either in the warp or in the woof, or in any utensil of skin, then the priest shall give directions, and shall wash that on which there may have been the plague, and the priest shall set it aside a second time for 7 days. And the priest shall look upon it after the plague has been washed, and this even the plague has not changed its appearance. The plague does not spread, it is unclean. It shall be burnt with fire. It is fixed in the garment, in the warp, or in the woof. Okay. And if the priest should look, and the spot be dark after it has been washed, he shall tear it off from the garment, either from the warp, or from the woof, or from the skin, and it should still appear in the garment, either in the warp, or in the woof, or in any article of skin. It is leprosy bursting forth. That wherein is the plague shall be burnt with fire. And the garment, or the warp, or the woof, or any article of skin which shall be washed, and the plague depart from it, shall also be washed again, and shall be clean. This is the law of the plague of leprosy, of a woolen or linen garment, either of the warp or woof, or any leather article, to pronounce it clean or unclean. Okay. All right. And if I'm not mistaken, when we get to Leviticus 14, Yahuwah willing, next week, we're going to get to the other part that where it mentions that if it doesn't go away after a certain prescribed amount of time, where that the reddish greenish color doesn't go away after an amount of time, certain material you're actually supposed to burn the clothing, so of certain materials. So we'll get to that probably Yahuwah willing next week. We'll continue on in Leviticus chapter 14. So thank you for joining us, everyone. And I probably gonna do a message later tonight. There's been a lot of controversy, and I think the body of Messiah needs to understand what does scripture really say about whether we can vote or not. Did I'm going to leave you with this as kind of you could say a foreshadowing to that other message, just as something to think about, ponder about. Did the Israelites choose Pharaoh as their leader, or were they oppressed by Pharaoh? Were they did Yahuwah choose Pharaoh without the Israelites having any say in the matter when they were, you know, in slavery in Egypt, right? They did not vote for a Pharaoh, okay? They did not vote for a Caesar, okay? Just keep that in mind that all throughout history with Yahuwah's people, they never vote for their oppressors. Yahuwah never allows them to vote for their oppressors. Just something to think about, just something to ponder about. I know the elections are already over, but just something to think about for next year. And I will be doing a actual minor short message tonight about it, what I think about it, what I think the scripture literally black and white says about voting, or in general, whether we can choose our heathen rulers or not. But thank you for joining us for this weekly Torah reading. I pray that you got something out of it. I pray that you got some clarity out of Leviticus 12 and 13. So thank you for joining us today, all of our brothers and sisters out there that will probably see this later on. Thank you. Shalom.